Hello everyone, I welcome you all to my channel Revealing Concepts. In today's class, we would be learning how to solve the pair of simultaneous equations or linear equations in two variables using the concept of determinants. So here we would be specifically learning the determinant method, which is also called as the Cramer's rule. Now, why it is called as the Cramer's rule? Because it was given by a mathematician, Gabriel Cramer, and that is why it is called as the Cramer's rule. And the purpose of Cramer's rule or determinant method is to solve any given system of simultaneous equations, meaning if you are given two equations, linear equations in two variables basically, then if you are supposed to find the values for x and y, that is the solutions for this equation, you are supposed to use the Cramer's rule. So the purpose of Cramer's rule is to solve simultaneous equations. Now, in order to use this method, which is the method of determinant, there are five steps that you need to follow. So what we will be doing is, we will be solving this particular system of equations step by step and understanding what exactly are these steps, right? So the question says that here the question is you're supposed to solve these equations. So if at all the question says solve this equation, it means that you're supposed to find the values for x and y. As per step number one says that standard format or constant term on the right hand side, meaning you have to observe the given equations and you have to see whether they are in the standard format. Now, what do you mean by standard format? I have written over here, it means that constant term on the right hand side. So we all know that any linear equation in two variables is of the form ax plus by equals to c, where the coefficient value terms are on the left hand side and the constant term is always on the right hand side. Constant term is the term that does not involve any kind of or any variable along with it. So here if you see, do we need to do step number one in this particular question? Yes. Sometimes the equations are already given in standard format, so you just have to skip the first step and move on to the second step. But here it is necessary to do or perform the step number one and convert the given equations into standard format, because they are not given in the standard format, which is of this form, ax plus by equals to c, right? So here is our step number one. Step 1, standard format. So what we would do is, we would be keeping the variable terms on the left hand side and we would be moving the constant term on the right hand side. Similarly, if you see on the right hand side, already we have the constant term, but we don't want this term over here, so we are supposed to move it on the left hand side. So whenever we do this shifting of terms, we just don't do the shifting of terms, we do it by changing its signs. So what I'll do is, when I shift 4 on the other side, minus 4 would become plus 4. So I'll get 0 plus 4, which is 4. Likewise, when I shift minus 5y on this side, the minus 5y gets converted into plus 5y. So the resultant equation that we get is 6x plus 5y equals to 8. Now, if you would see and compare this, these two are the equations which are of the form ax plus by equals to c. Now, let's move on to step number 2. Step number 2 is about getting, now the next 3 steps are basically where you would be getting 3 different determinants. One is denoted by letter D, the second is denoted by letter with a subscript x, so dx, and the other one is dy. So we would be calculating 3 determinants, and how we would be calculating. The first determinant is just the determinant of the coefficients. Now when I say coefficients, you have 2 equations, these are 2 constants, you just have to look for the coefficients. So here the coefficients are 4, 3, 6 and 5. So the first determinant would be the determinant of the coefficient. So what you would be doing is, step number 2, calculating the value for d, and here d is the determinant of the coefficients. So just ignore the constant terms and write d equals to mod of 4, write 3, You also have to check the signs. Now here, since the signs of every coefficient is positive, that is why I won't be writing the plus sign. It is 6 and 5. You have to write it in the similar arrangement, x, y, x and y. Now once you have written this, you have to also calculate the determinant ka value. As you have said in the previous video, we have to multiply the diagonal elements and take uska difference. So we would get 4 into 5 minus 6 into 3. 4 into 5 is 20 and 6 into 3 is 18. 20 minus 18 is 2. So the value for the determinants of the coefficient is 2. This is your step number 2. Now step number 3 similarly is to calculate dx. Now here I want to tell you what exactly you need to do. You have d. We are supposed to calculate dx. How you are going to remember the framing of this determinant? What you would be doing is, since we have x over here, so we would be replacing the x values. Now here the x values are 4 and 6. If you see, x coefficients are 4 and 6. So since we are calculating dx in this case, that is why we would be removing the x coefficients and replacing them with the constant terms. So your dx would be, सिंस इधर x लिखा है तो y वाले आपको वैसे ही रखने हैं, तो आप 3 और 5 को वैसे ही लिखो, and your this column for x coefficients would be replaced by the constant terms. Now what are the constant terms? They are 4 and 8, right? And this is nothing but your dx. Now again what you are supposed to do is repeat the same step over here. So 4 into 5 minus 8 into 3. 4 into 5 is 20 and 8 into 3 is 24. We know 20 minus 24 is minus 4. So your value for dx is minus 4. This is your step number 3. Similarly, now your step number 4 is calculating dy. Now if your dx is replacing the x coefficients, then your dy would be replacing the y coefficients with the constant terms. So in order to write the determinant for dy, you're going to keep the x values same. So you would be writing the x coefficients 4 and 6 and replacing the y coefficients with the constant term. So we would be getting 4 into 8 minus 6 into 4. So we'll get 32 minus 24, and that is equal to 8, right? So we get 32 minus 24 as 8, and this is the value for dy, right? So with this we come to the end of step number 4. Now what is step number 5? Now that we have calculated all these values and our aim is to get the values for small x and small y, we have formulas using these values. So the formula for x value is capital dx upon d, and the value of y is capital dy upon d. So if you want to get the value of small x, you are supposed to take the ratio of dx and d, and if you want to find the value of y, you have to take the ratio of dy and d. So step number 5 in this case is using the formulas that we know, right? So here you will say, by Cramer's rule, x equals to dx upon d, which is equal to, now what is your dx? Your dx is minus 4 and your d is 2. So you get the answer to be minus 2, because when you reduce this you get the answer as minus 2. Likewise, your y is dy upon d, which is equal to 8 by 2, and that is equal to 4. So the solution for the given set of linear equations or simultaneous equations is x equals to minus 2 and y equals to 4. So this is how we would be calculating the solutions or the values of x and y using the Cramer's rule. It is a 5-step process in which the first step is to write down the equations in the standard format, which is of the form ax plus by equals to c. In step number 2, you would be calculating the determinant for the coefficient matrix, meaning you have to write the determinants, you have to write these coefficients and find uska determinant. Ignore the constant term. Step number 3 and 4 mein, now at a time you're going to replace the x coefficients with the constant term and calculate dx, and for dy, you're going to replace the y coefficients with the constant term and calculate dy. Finally, that you have calculated the value for capital D, dx and dy, you have to use this and get the values for x and y. And this is how you would be using the concept of determinants in the form of Cramer's rule to calculate or find the solutions of simultaneous equations. So I hope you have understood the concept of Cramer's rule. With this, we come to the end of today's video. I hope you all have liked the video and you have understood what has been taught. Thank you so much. See you in the next video.